Good evening, here at Ruins, and welcome to Practising Programming in C, where we just continue to do the fixing up compile errors, basically. Yesterday we got the config.c file finished, basically, so we're satisfied that this is doing what we want it to be doing. This isn't actually the full thing. We saved off the full thing as config full.c, so we've still got a record of that at least. But now what we're doing is we've included config.c inside our Cinera.c file up here. And we are simply going through all of the compile errors and getting it to compile. Right. Now, if I compile it now, we encountered this error here. Conflicting types for read file to buffer. Previous declaration of read file to buffer was here. Right. So we encountered this yesterday, and I sort of started to tread water a little bit. I kind of got myself into this situation where I was trying to figure out, like, which of these two functions I should use as the actual main one, and which kind of set of code I should change. Callers, which callers I should change to use the actual unified thing. I got into that situation and got no further, right? So I think we need a better strategy. We need a strategy for actually doing this, and just basically confine our goals here to being get it compiling, right? So we're fixing compile errors. Get it compiling without doing any function, without writing any functionality, right? So in order to kind of figure out our idea for this, we would need to write some functionality. It may only be a little bit of functionality, but it's some functionality. So I think a better way to deal with this is to just, when we have a situation where we've got two definitions of a function, we just rename the existing definition in Cinera.c to something like just append like old to the name. So basically, see if I can do this. From here to the end of the file, I'm going to substitute. I'm not sure. Yeah, somebody did say. Is that how you do it? Oh, actually, it's not even that. So it's from there to there. There we go. Yeah, so it is that is how you do it. So you just don't put a search pattern. If I just do, let's append old like that. From here down to the end of the Cinera.c. Right, so there we've got that. Now, if I build it, we should find that we don't hit that error. Yeah, we don't. So then, what I suggest we do is we just do that all the way down. And then, once we've got it compiling, we then go back through the functions that we just set as old, and we figure out how to we'll figure out which one to use. I think if, in the cases where functions may be essentially exactly the same, just taking very slightly different parameters. So in this case, I think we had a clear that used to take something, or we had, I think there was cases where a function took an int like this, whereas more recently we'd use like a uint 16, we'd use a more specific type, and then cast into that as necessary. I think if there's a situation like that, where it's simply just a case of changing the type, I think we should do that, and just proceed. Similarly, if we've got like enums, I reckon we should be able to do that. All right, if we need to kind of merge enums into each other, we just go ahead and do that. Like we did yesterday, we did it with the color string, with the color codes. I think we're within our rights to do that, because I think we are reasonably confident that we can do that without screwing up. The functionality is a bit less so. Although yesterday again, I think I did it once. For one of the functions, I used I changed it to use make string for some reason. It's some function in Cinera.c. I think we should see that. Yeah, it was the log error function. So this was to produce the log path. I did do this functionality without testing it. I think today I'm going to commit myself to not do that sort of stuff. And in this case, where we have stuff like this, and I think this is actually a case of this happening here actually. So this is on. So on line 8, 1857. So if template is equal to bespoke, then we do this, we do a copy string. This used to be a car star, but it's now a string. So what I propose we do here, this is going to be the same problem, isn't it? Yeah. So it's this type of car star, but don't satisfy the string. What I propose we do here, rather than trying to figure out what we need to be passing to copy string, because I don't believe copy string really takes the, well, what does it? I'm not going to commit myself to actually looking into this properly, but it's taking a format, and it is taking a printf style format, so it's going to treat this whole thing as a printf thing. In this case, we could do this. Right. Can we? Well, maybe we couldn't. Maybe copy string itself doesn't quite handle that correctly. But okay, I mean, I'm not going to look into it because I'm not committing myself to it. What it's just to do in this case is just wrap these errors into something like an if something, and then kind of defer this sort of functionality stuff to the end as well. Right. So as it's April Fool's Day, I reckon, where's our config.c? Right. April Fool's Day. Right, just do that, and then when we encounter one of these errors, we just wrap it. We just say if it's on April Fool's Day, right? And then I believe we should get past the error, shouldn't we? Yeah. I sort of reckon we should do that. In this case here, because it's a strings differ, we don't need to do any functionality. This will just be a simple case of doing that. Which order does this? Just take it, takes it a string and then the car. Right. That's going to be a simple case of doing that. I think we should be within our rights to do that. So the current project doesn't contain a root URL. Okay, let's have a look. It's going to be assets root. Copy string to buffer HTML percent encoded. Probably this is going to have to do some more stuff. So this would be a case where we do our if. Right. Here, there's no such thing as addition, is there? If the current addition is equal to... Oh, addition pro did. Oh, right, sorry. So this, yeah, so there's not going to be any, we don't need to do this check. We just do it all the time. I was kind of reading that as if it was addition single. I was like, well, do we just not do anything? But no. Addition project, we're getting rid of this whole notion. So this should mean that we just do this thing. On we go. So then we've got no member known CSS dir. So let's just change all of those to be CSS path. Do we do that, or do we do it, or do we call the actual thing CSS dir? This isn't a case of functionality, really. It's just a case of naming the thing. I think actually let's call it dir, because the path suggests that it could include the actual file name, and it also suggests that it's the entire path, which it kind of isn't. I mean, the assets root dir could conceivably be path, because that should really be the entire path. The absolute directory, or the absolute path they call it, don't they? Whereas these guys are relative paths. Yeah, now that I think about it, you do call those things absolute path, don't you? Absolute path versus relative path. Which kind of suggests that you want to call this at least the same thing. Templates path, templates dir, assets root dir, CSS path, base dir. Let's just change this all to be CSS dir. If we don't like it, we can change it. Was that 3 substitutions? Five substitutions on 3 lines. Now, one thing that we did do yesterday, we would like backport changes to the config_full file. Just in case we need to kind of, you know, scrap this whole process and start fresh, essentially. Let's continue to do that. Okay. So we should now get that building, but the strings differ won't actually pass because it's the wrong type. And then here we have an if AFD. I'm going to go for this. These are strings, just established. What we're talking about here is setting these guys, setting this to be that, if this and this, or that. Then we're then going to check if that was set with strings differing and then copies into buffers. It's the same kind of a deal that we've just been doing with the other stuff. The only difference is that it's, well, it's the same deal totally because it's strings as opposed to car stars. So yeah, I'm going to go for this. And that's already going to be a pointer. And also, I think I've just, in case you're unfamiliar with what this is doing here, this preprocessor directive, all this is saying is, if AFD is true, then if it's non-zero, then process this, compile this line, because so basically it's just not compiling this line at all. When I'm done with this whole thing and I actually flip that back on, what happens is it actually compiles the line, so you can then go through, go down to the next error, and you can see that we're now able to address this error here because AFD is passing. This has been compiled, and we can deal with the error that it's told us. So copies into buffer another. Play URL prefix. Ah, we're getting rid of that, aren't we? So yeah, we do not have that. Pretty sure. Yeah, we're taking this opportunity to switch away from the idea of player URL prefixes in favour of the new thing that Interfaros gave us. yeah, this output piece of information here. So yeah, we're going to basically the way that the what do you call it, player URL prefix kind of worked was that it would, if there was a player URL prefix set, then it would replace in the output file name or the output directory name of a player page. It'd replace in that path the project ID with the specified player URL prefix. Right? Project ID. So yeah, I think for this we are just getting rid of this notion completely. And I reckon let's actually make a note of this. Credits menu icon. The new company said we've got rid of the notion of player URL prefix. This means that for Handmade Hero, it's for hero code. And hero Enter to C actually. We just add an output parameter to the video. Right, so what we're talking about here, I think this is intro to C. You can see the intro to C. If I just, well, I'm hovering over this here, and you can see, because you're not going to actually see, well, I could actually open a new tab. We've got intro to C, and then we've got day one, right? If you don't have if you're not using this player URL prefix, what you would get here, rather than it saying day one, it would say intro to C1, right? And you can see that happening in the chat, right? Chat, and then you've got chat 001, because this doesn't have a player URL prefix set. Handmade Hero is the same deal. You got code, and you got day 001, and that's because we're replacing code, which would have originally this would have originally have said code, replacing that with the player URL prefix day. Right. The new conversation, we got rid of the notion of player URL prefix. This means that for hero code and hero interest, I think that's the only ones that are actually needed, by the way. Intro to C, Handmade Hero, chat, Ray and miscellany. I mean, yeah, the miscellany ones actually, we could then do something cool with those. We could give them some actual names. Because currently, handmade miscellany is just stuck. Well, are they stuck, actually? Ah, yeah, so what's going on here, actually? I'll just show you this. So here's the MISC directory. Rather than calling these like MISC001, MISC002, I've called them these names. So I've basically forced this name to appear in here because there's no easy way to use the existing stuff. There's no easy way to use no at all way to use the player URL prefix to produce anything like this. Right. The downside of doing it this way is that you kind of can't sort on this, right? If you look at handmade miscellany, you see the 30 million line problems first, and then you got the Emacs tutorial. The Emacs tutorial happened like 4 years ago, right? Whereas the 30 million line problem only happened last year. But the way that I wanted to name it, just happened to make it sort the other way around. So let me just write MISC as well, actually, in there. This means that for hero coder, we must add an approach to the video node of the HTML. Also, we may now choose I'm going to choose an output for HTML hero MISC and rename their files such that they're in chronological order. Right. So that's all that's going on there. So in that light, I reckon we just, if AFD this entire section of code, I think that's reasonable, so that we're not getting ourselves involved in solving this particular problem. Because it's going to involve yeah, I'm not going to do it. Not going to sidetrack myself. So construct directory path sys won't have anything before it. Copy string. I couldn't see where that was. I was like, where the hell is the cursor? That would have been a nice use of the horizontal highlighter. So the interesting thing about this actually is that we're going to work this out. We can work this out differently. We've got the query string, and basically what we're saying is the rule to disable resources is to just set an empty query string. So what we could say here is if the string differs, if the current project's query string and like an empty thing differs, then we do all this stuff. I mean, even to put it another way, if the query string has a length, right, that's all you kind of need actually. Pretty sure that should suffice. Don't think that should screw up anything. Famous last words. Copy string to buffer. Have I run out of music here? I'm sure I queued up like hours and hours. Yeah, I did. Oh, it's one of those with the... It's a split track that has a bit of silence. Okay, here's an interesting thing. String to int. What does this actually take? Well, I want to be looking at the one in Cinera.config.c. Did I just paste this into Cinera.c already? I did. So because this is kind of a straightforward thing, I think I'm safe to change this to be that. A string 0 to int. And also I reckon I'm safe to do this as well. This shouldn't be an issue. Now that I think about it, the rule was, right, remember? When we see conflicting types that are difficult to kind of figure out, well, it's not obvious, like how to actually decide between one or another function, we just replace that function name in this entire Cinera.c file with by appending end. Sorry, not end. Replace append old to the function name. For all instances of that, all the way down to the end of the file. We can do that for this because we're in Cinera.c, and it's only going to be Cinera.c that is going to be using that function. So from here to the end of the file, I'm going to substitute the currently thingamajig thingy, string 0 to int. It's the same idea as appending the thing, appending holds to the thing. It's just it's in the middle of the function name. So now way down to 3542. Ah. Well, default config. Hold on a second. Are we into this territory where I kind of... Oh, this is Matt Berry. Oh, right. Okay. So the default config is going to be the old config, isn't it? Yeah, it should have been the old config. Ah, tell you what. Print usage. The default config, yeah, right. I'm going to cheese out for a second and just if AFD this whole thing. And this kind of actually suggests that the set project defaults or the set defaults function will actually need to set some of these defaults, possibly. So yeah, focus on the task, getting it building. Force integration. I think actually we've forgotten to add a force integration thing, haven't we? So it's a Boolean. Although I guess technically they start off as strings, don't they? Yes, it will be a string because it's going to be like a true or false. You say this is equal to true or false. So single browser tab is going to be a true or false. Let's make a note to do that, I think. Let's make a note to add it because we would need to handle this. There's a little bit more stuff to do when parsing it than if it was just a straight up set this thing. You know, like in the way that yesterday we just quickly added the genre and there was something else we added yesterday, wasn't there? The genre and the theme. Right, these things are just straight up strings, but the forced integration would be a Boolean, so we'd have to add a case within scope tokens. So rather than doing that, let's just note it. I mean, it's what do you call it? Field. Right, Boolean. And force integration Boolean. So we are going to have this notion, which means that I think we just if AFK the if, don't we? If April Fool's Day, this whole scope. Right, so it's not going to copy the string. There's going to be a bunch of these, aren't there? All of them are that. Is there a default tag? There is a default. Maybe for ease we just skip all of these cases. So we don't have to handle the force integration option just at the moment. Same here. By the way, in case you were wondering, the Matt Berry that I'm listening to is actually the same Matt Berry who's in it's the IT crowd, isn't it? Oh shit. Who's also in Toast of London. Oh, right. I think we did decide to do this, didn't we? Yeah, just if there's the whole case out. Now what's this? Is this oh, this is just printing, isn't it? Examine database. I'm fine if zeroing this out for now as well, because it's just printing. Whoa. If no ref resource, so this was the case where we say if the current project's query string we did just leave it like that, didn't we? We didn't say if it's greater than 0. And we decided, didn't we, that if there's a printed edition, we just do it, didn't we? Yeah. So I reckon by the end of this process, we should be in a position to delete all the additions, delete this enum. Yeah. So that isn't even being used, and that won't be being used because we didn't have the network addition. Just means that you can have multiple projects, and what we're doing now is enabling multiple projects. So yeah, we just decided if it's a different project, you just do that. Yeah, you do, don't you? Now I've got a call on 4892. Just gone past the 50% mark. Base file name is too long. So I think we can do this, can't we, actually? Can't we? Oh, they're just LDs. Oh, yeah, even more. So it's expecting a long int. Max base file name length. Okay. So that one isn't a long. So the current project is going to be a string. And we did say, didn't we? So HTML metadata.medium is going to be a car star. So at best, we'd have to wrap the HTML metadata.medium into a wrap 0. I can't see any problem with that at all. Right, we're initializing this in this scope. So wherever this can be used, this is a HTML metadata medium is going to be available. Right? Surely. I guess the could be a well, no, because if we set that to be that, but if the medium exists, then we set that. So wherever this could work, it should still be able to work. So wrap 0 itself is going to return just a straight up string. So we need to get the pointer to that string, or rather, we need to get the address of that string. Right. Why do you not think about it? It doesn't need to be pointed to a string, does it, necessarily? Just because the old thing was pointed to a car. Doubly so because we're not actually testing on the default medium that we've got. You know, we're not doing like a get default medium and then testing to see if we've got that default medium. We're actually setting that and then using a different thing to test on. So I guess we could actually just do it like this, couldn't we? Right, and then, you know, this just then becomes this exactly. Oh right, so you can't initialize to that like that. Okay, fine. You can do that though, can't you? No. Initialization of string from another. So it's a medium. Oh shit, it's an actual medium. That's what's going on here. Yeah, I forgot about that. So what that means is so project contains a default medium, which is an actual point. It's a pointer to an actual medium. It's not a string. Yeah, right. Yeah, gosh, I'm not sure how to handle this actually. So let's just undo this for now. I think maybe we just, because we can't do default medium. I mean, we could sort of hackily say default medium ID dot base. But then it's like, well, where is this actually being used? I think the idea is it's just going to get pasted in. It's like it's going to be in one of these copy string functions. Surely they're going to come up later. So maybe I could actually be within my rights to do. Right, can I at least do that? And then this would be a wrap 0. There you have it, we get through. I might actually just put a note there. Take a closer look at this. And I think I might write end. Sorry, I might write old, because that's going to be the thing that we're going to be searching on when we're going through the what? Yeah, when we go through these. Oh shit, old is one of those things. Oh, that's unfortunate. Underscore old. Right. That's what we can use. Wow, that was a close shave. It was like you set this thing up that you can like search for, but you can't actually use it. Right, take a look at that. Just mark that as that. So here we go. Strings differ. Probably just a 3v0. Copies into buffer, collation buffer's menu. Yeah, I'll tell you what, actually. This copies into buffer is going to have to be different, because we can't copy the theme ID current project. Sorry, it's not theme ID. You just can't copy that thing. So although you could do this test, we're not going to be able to do the actual thing. So let's just back that out and do that. So if we're not in single edition, which we do not care about, current project, ignore privacy, isn't it? I'm not sure what n is, but I don't think we need to care for the moment. We're not ignoring privacy. Then we say if the video is private. Yeah, if we were ignoring privacy, then we would just proceed, wouldn't we? Yeah, if we ignore privacy, we just proceed. So here we go, presentation single. We just want to say if it's not a private video, which it won't be by default. Yeah. Just double check that. Yeah, we'll get rid of edition single. There's no such thing as player URL prefix. Oh, right. No cache. We don't have it, do we? Cache directory. Ah, actually. I suppose technically, actually, you could force no cache by just saying the cache directory is blank. Maybe. don't know. Let's decide that when we get there. So we can't. So clearly that, I mean, this addition single part, we can get rid of that, at least. We just don't know about the no cache thing, so let's if AFD that. Default medium. This should, with a bit of luck, just be a case of taking default medium is the final parameter. Well, that's marker is apparently what that's called. Insert category. Category for the default medium. Category. Well, I think we might want to change this to take a string. We pass the default medium's ID, and for everybody else who calls insert category, such as these dudes, we just wrap 0 them. I think that's what you want to do. Copy string to buffer. So I guess we just if AFD AF0 it, AF thingamajig it for the moment. And we don't need this note anymore because it's just set. Is that true? So it's set but not used. We set it there. If not, we then go on to how to set it again, but never use it. We need to if AFD this entire thing, don't we? Because we don't know if we're not forcing integration. Right, that was the idea, wasn't it? We do that for the forced integration. So if we're in product edition, we use the output path. Otherwise, we use the current project's out location. So there's a current project out location. Oh, actually, I think that does make sense. The output path is the thing that's going to be generated, but the out location is the thing that was just specified on the command line. Okay. The project info, project ID. What is the project info exactly? Oh shit, right. So this is looking through all the projects. I think this might be a full-on if AFD search to buffer. Because what we're talking about here is the hard-coded project info array, right? And it's this thing that we're replacing with the config. I think we just if AFD this loop and just hard set the project index to be 0, and then come back to it and figure out actually what needs to be happening here. I mean, I guess that's another part of it, isn't it? It's like, you know, once we've gone through this process of getting it to compile, which is what we're focusing on, once we've done that, we then go back up and we delete the project info array, we delete the medium category medium array and the credentials array. Right? Support icons, we delete all this crap. And then see what we need to fix up from there. So let's just hard set that to be 0. Current project theme. So this should be a string star. Shouldn't it? Or maybe not even a star, because I think setting this should always set something to be thingy. So we're not actually going to be testing whether that's set. Yeah, I think that seems perfectly reasonable. If we just say not a string star, but just a string. and then the copy string will have to be redone. But that should suffice, shouldn't it? And also, once if AFD this, it'll probably just say to us that that variable is unused. And that string length, allow it, and that should be the theme length. Plus the current project ID length. So current, I guess we could search and replace that. This base file name, what the hell is this? So you've got to remember here that there's no idea of multiple projects, right? So this is always going to be looking through the only project that it knows about. What are we actually in here? Search to buffer. I think actually here I need to do a special. Right. And this should actually be get the actual project that we're talking about. Get project from database. Right. Because like I'm saying, this thing is assuming that there's only one project in it, and it's assuming that the database is in a particular fixed format, which we're going to have to change. So it's going over all of the entries. It's casting the entry to this. If the size of an entry is greater than 0, so in other words, if it's not a private thing, then we need to put in the search. The number that this base. So yeah, this is also, I might make a to do here as well. Because what's happening here is that it's like deriving the number name from the entry's ID. Sorry, the entry's base file name. Yeah, right. So this product info. So actually, I think, you know where we've got that thing going on up there with the product info. I think that's where we need to get product from database thing. Right. Then all of these people below can use the actual project. And it might even not be that. It might even not be get a project from database within this function. It might just have to take in a pointer to the project. Well, actually, it's going to just be the current project, isn't it? Really? Because we've been talking about the current project with all these people. Right, we should be within our rights here. Like, we shouldn't need to do this loop, should we? Because we're using the current project. Right, we've already got all the information. And also, by the time we've got in here, we shouldn't need to be pissing about with the theme, should we? We should just know what the theme is for this person, right? The theme should have defaulted to be the current project's ID. So I think this is all garbage. I think let's just to do it. Similarly here, I'm not going to do it now because we don't actually have the functionality. We're not actually setting the theme. We're not default in the defaults. I don't think this thing actually sets the theme, does it? No. So let's just note that. Oh, and also it wasn't that actually. It was like I was thinking of defaulting the theme to be basically the most, like I don't know what you call it, like the person, the project that's at the root of our current scope. It's like the most full parent. Right. Like founder or something. God. The parent predicted he was no parent. The parent predicted a family who has no parent. I hope I addressed all the things that we need to address in there. Get print from database. I think that should prompt us to sort this stuff out. Oh yeah, right. So it was this notion of deriving the number from the base file name. Let's do a note for this as well. What that means is, where we have stuff like this, we're basically deriving this number from this base file name, or rather from this base file name. I'm wondering if we want to just somehow make that more concrete. So each entry would have an actual proper number. Because you can see we're like, what is it doing? We were clearly using the printed info, which is bogus. For int I is equal to the number. If number is equal to an underscore, change that to be a dot. So yeah, that's actually talking about if you've named stuff. So I did this for OBBG. I don't think Sean's going to be in here, is he? No. But I did it for OBBG. It was like multi-part episodes. So it was like OBBG 14_1 .html, OBBG 14_2 .html. And rather than putting the underscore, rather than outputting that underscore, you output it as a dot. Right. But it might have been better, you know, if we established some sort of rigorous notion of episode numbers, whereby inside your HTML file, you know, you do something like number is equal to that. I don't know. Or if you're in like a, a calendrical numbering scheme, you do this as the number or something. So then you've separated out, you don't have to derive that thing from the file name. Similarly, seasonal, you could have, I mean, you could, well, for all that matter, you could sort of say like this: day is equal to that, right? Then you could sort of say maybe this. Although I guess the seasons could be handled by the parents, so really just again talking about episode equals 14, in which case it's just like count, and then all the members of that season, you just say that you just set the unit to be episode. Right, so you'd have like a top level project, which is like, let's say you've got a project called Veep, right? And then you have a sub project within Veep called Season 1. And then within Season 1, the units for all of the episodes are called, the unit is set to episode. And they get the number that they need to be. Right, rather than doing this weird derivation of stuff. From this. I just kind of feel like that would be probably better to do, ultimately. But that's out of scope for just this particular moment. Get DB from database, I mean that's probably going to have to go. So what we'll do is I'll just do a to-do here. Visual directory. Per locations, I'm going to have to redo that. Where's my cursor? I guess everywhere we see current project dash project ID is just current project ID. Is this another case of this is inside case 2 for this is going to be the upgrade database function, isn't it? I mean, at the very least, wherever you see that, you definitely want to be changing that to be saying hopefully this is a print, surely, isn't it? So, oh, this is down to 98% of the way through the file. So this is probably, if something, oh no, this is just a startup printout. So yeah, this is a clear copy string, no format. If strings differ. Tell you what, in the interests of kind of separation of, in the interest of division of labour, let's actually correct this, but correct this, and we're probably going to have to do something about this, maybe. This is going to go anyway, because when we remove the project info array, we're going to get prompted to do something about this. These are writing into specific areas, so it's not writing to, it's not like writing something and then it doesn't have to write it in order, basically is what I'm driving at. Player URL prefix is probably that's going, isn't it? That's going to be replaced with the output. Yeah. Right. All of these are using the current project. And it's a clear copy string, no format. If strings differ, that you can. So again, I think. I might actually have to make a note here. Delete dead database entries is going to have to actually loop over all of the projects. Right, because the current project, I mean, this, when we do the delete DB entries, this happens at startup. It happens once. When you're in the middle of, I mean, basically part of this whole thing is that you're basically never going to have to restart Cinera. So this is going to happen once. Only want it to handle all the projects. Yeah, that's all it is really. and probably would naturally actually end up looking at this function because we will have to be doing some stuff on the database. So we're going to have to somehow pass to open dir like a made string, you know, a thing that this can actually take. Right. There's a const car name. I think we're just, so I spotted that pretty immediately, so I don't think we need to note that that's what we need to do there. No ref resource, so that means query string what was it? Hang on a minute. Sync database with import, delete style landmarks. Actually, it's if the query string is length 0. Interesting. Kind of nice to see that there's two different failures going on here. initializing a new database header. Project name is getting the full name. So yeah, this is just going to have to go over all of the projects that we've actually got in the config. Yeah, giving them their own block counts. Sorry, their own entry block. Is that right? Well, it's whatever needs to happen. It will need to happen. And this is going to be guided by the deletion of the project info array. I think this might actually not have to exist. Right, so now down to here. So the config default conf, and I think this is simply a case of just read the old defaults in the config. I think this is just a case of it just all goes. Personally, that's what I reckon. Because this config here is now the wrong type anyway. Initialization of person from incompatible pointer type. Let's save this, save these default configs. Get rid. Get rid, get rid. Print usage is, that's just been nuked, so I guess and then all the command line arguments. I think I might actually just kibosh these for now, because we're going to be removing some command line arguments and changing how some work. So let's not actually do this. You might use like a global context, so it's not like a current project mode, it's a global context, which is the thing that determines that acts on the arguments, I guess. And also, you know, as we've got the update intervals for each project, I think the global context is going to have like a record of the lowest common denominator of all the update intervals. You know, because you could conceivably have someone set in the update interval for one project to be 4 seconds, another project to be 6 seconds, right? In which case you'd have to figure out that you'd have to globally check where we're up to every 2 seconds, so we can actually make sure that we satisfy each update interval, right? Because 2 goes into 4 and 6. You could check every 1 second if you want as well, but you couldn't do every 3 because 3 doesn't go into 4 and 6. Where is it again? So this is a startup. What they're saying is, so we're just in a memory arena. Right, we've done fuck all other than init the memory arena. Criff has arrived. Oh blimey, you've been here for... Jesus, dude. I do apologise. Yeah, it wasn't a deliberate ignoring process. Yeah, this is just the only way that I can actually see the thing is by lowering the thing, by showing the whole lot. Just got a beep, by the way. So is that for a stream going live? Yeah. So yeah, we've, like I said, we've been into the memory arena, claimed all our buffers, which is probably going to change actually, probably going to change how those guys work. But then we're saying if the strings differ between the current project I mean, that seems garbage, doesn't it? Really, all that we need to be saying here, rather than doing that whole thing, and probably rather than doing anything like this at all, it's like we need to have parsed in the config, and then I think what we need to be saying here actually is looping over all of the projects that we know about and doing this process. I think that's what we want to be doing. Whatever's going on here. Well, actually, it's always operating on the project info. So, yeah, I think what's going on here actually is that it's simply setting the stuff up, isn't it? It's setting the default medium, the current theme. The project names. Yeah, it's just it's setting all the stuff up from the project info. So my guess is that rather than doing any of this, it should actually have passed in the config. And it's like I said, it's looping over all the projects. I think this just doesn't need to happen, isn't it? Like known project, there's no nothing like that doesn't exist. Like known project is like not a thing, because a project is just a thing that you actually set. Addition project doesn't need to happen. We've already kind of established that. Have config errors. At the very least, I think. I mean, it's all going to disappear, but we shouldn't need to have to check this thing. It's really if the string length of the if the project ID length is greater than the project ID max length, then we error. And then this whole thing here, this whole known projects thing, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just all garbage. So I think it's just AFD it. Because what happens after this? So this is just still trying to determine if we've got config errors. Templating. So this is going to have to happen, although this might happen differently. This is the startup printout. Your current project edition is edition project. Otherwise, we just read in the files from standard in. That ain't gonna fucking happen. So we're gonna delete all of this lot. And then finally got to the bottom of the file. So it sort of seems like none of this is going to have to happen, actually, strangely enough. I think in the interest of letting the actual deletion of stuff guide what has to happen, I think I will actually just fix this for now. By which I mean the following. This won't be able to work, will it? So yeah, it's complete garbage, all of this stuff, because we're totally not going to use it in the slightest. Oh, actually, hang on a second. This was just an LD, so could this also just actually happen? Type string. Yeah, I mean, this could also. Which one is it? Start. It could actually just say that. this doesn't like the string length of the current base URL. Probably need to cast it to an int as well, maybe. This doesn't like that. Just ignore the case of this. Is there any more of these? No. Okay, yeah, so this is going to be guided by the deletion of category medium, this thing. So that'll be fine. And then here we go. Approach edition. So it's going to be, it is going to be approach edition. So let's just go and. Okay, so that's all it was. Yeah, and also this is just the whole startup printout, which we need to completely change, really. Cinera remotes of DW and print versions. I think we're okay to print versions, but I think this printf, we can't really do this. I think this might be a warning within the config thing, mightn't it? Isn't it? Actually, maybe not. Going over all the projects. If if either the search location or the player location are set, and the base URL is not set, apparently returning success from this whole program if that is the case. Are we actually in a scope here? Shouldn't this have all been indented differently? This should be very simple actually. Pack template, rather than taking that location, we just probably need to take a string, and then wherever that is used, we just propagate that down, doing what's necessary to get to just load that file in. So there's no longer any such thing as the Practising edition. If the common project's template search and then again, so this is the one that we're deleting. Get rid of single edition once for all, probably for version 1.00. We're not going to wait that long, we're doing it right now. Thank you very much. One shot mode is going. Right. Bye bye. So no privacy. So if the current mode, ignore privacy. So this is, what's this saying? It's saying if we should be rechecking privacy. So basically, if we're not ignoring privacy and the time is there, yeah. I think that's right. So now it doesn't like something. Controls in a non-void function. Buffers to HTML. If there's a template file buffer, else that. Ah, actually, do I want to also get rid of this? I'll see no up. Right, because really, right. I think I know why this is now complaining. It's because we're if AFDing. So should we just assume, just for the moment? So what couldn't we do here? If the template metadata validity and page is current product mode, force integration was the thing. Right. Let's just return RC success here. I suppose also, where we did that, I think it might be worth noting that the only thing we needed to do here right? That's what we need to be doing. Same deal. It's taking 3.7 seconds to build this thing. So that's it. We fixed the compile errors. And the only function that we have a duplicate of is the read file into buffer function. It's kind of funny. You know what? I think I might just call it a day there. Now that we've finally got our way through the entire file. And then tomorrow, I think let's switch into the gear of like reintroducing the functionality that we've just disabled. So basically that would entail, look how long that is. Let me just see if I just build it in debug mode. 1.5 seconds to build this file. And how big is the file now? I mean, the file is no much bigger, is it? Because all we've done is include config.c. So it's still going to be that. Config.c now is 3,300. So yeah, we're going to go up to going to go up with that by that many lines. But yeah, I was just trying to drive at. So I mean, also let's take a look at this. Medium exists. This is really going to be, if there's a HTML.metadata medium, then what we're going to have to do is say get medium, right? From the config, because this is a valid thing that can happen. HTML.metadata medium is just basically that somebody has set in the HTML file, they're basically gone like this. They've gone medium is equal to speech or something. which is a perfectly fine thing to do. When they do that, we then need to look up into our stored mediums from the config to see if that thing corresponds to one that we've actually got configured. And if it does, then we just straight up use that. We just set the default medium to be that. And or rather, is it that you set the default medium to that? It's kind of more like you set the current medium to be that, because you don't want to be stomping over the default medium. Right? Probably what this is going to be, it's going to be a medium star current medium is equal to this. And then you say, if this, then we try and get the medium. And if we can get it, we set the current medium to be the got medium, essentially. Or rather, it'd be like, you just do if a current medium is equal to get medium. Well, hang on a minute. If you get in here and you say if the current medium equals get medium, then continue. So I guess it'd be the obverse. It's like, if that does not equal to that, then we got errors and we set that to true, and then continue. So then whenever we're actually using default medium down here, you need to be operating on the actual string of the default medium. I think that's what we need to be doing. So it's basically right. I'll just split it out. And this itself is a medium star, so that's perfectly fine. Oh, we're going to get the medium that's like a wrap 0 of the HTML metadata medium, probably. I reckon you'd want to be searching by that. So we could make it just take a string rather than a string pointer. So we could just do right, basically like this. You need to get the medium from the actual config. Right. Do we have that actually? Get medium? Yeah, we do have get medium from projects. Ah, right. So it's actually the current project, which is perfectly fine. Yeah, that's kind of nice. So you don't need to take any more. So it's get medium from project. Actually, you can see that it's a string star. So we would have to say that the we'd have to pass it like that, wouldn't we? And also, let's just say it like that, just to disambiguate. So if this thing is set, then we come in and we say header medium string rep 0. Rep 0 there. And we pass the points to that to our get medium project. Where current project will be totally available to us. Or whatever. I mean, strictly speaking, we could actually change any functions that use that. To take a medium. Build categories. So insert categories taking the default medium, which is a string. Build category changes the default medium to the string. And this is saying strings differ. Are we even in the same function here? Probably are. So this needs to get the ID somehow. Copy string to buffer. So yeah, this will be operating on the ID. Yeah, and then that's it. So basically, insert category could just as well take the medium straight up. Oh, actually no, it couldn't, because insert category it is going to be talking about other things than mediums. So yeah, these probably will need to take the ID. Yeah, these are probably have to take the default medium ID. Right. And then when we've got stuff like this, what you do is you change this to a category to take a string rather than a character, than a thingamajig thing, than a not terminated string, and then you just wrap this. You just wrap all the instances of those into a wrap 0. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, taking a string straight up would be fine. Also, it's going to have to take the project so that it can actually loop over the categories. Because when there's array count, when this category medium goes. Or rather, to put it another way, this category of medium is going to be deleted, which is currently where we get the category stuff from. I'm going to have to get the category stuff from the actual project. Change this to take a string marker and so in this get medium, if something is a medium, then we treat it as a medium. Otherwise, we just treat it as a topic. I think that seems right. So yeah, tomorrow we're just going to unify the two read file into buffer functions. So basically figure out what we need to be happening. At the very least, I reckon we're taking the buffer padding out of the equation because nobody sets anything other than 0 for that. I guess we probably will want to take a file. So we probably want to get rid of a file buffer and replace that with an actual just a file, and make it return the buffer. Right. So it could use the file's path, which would come in. So that can persist. So the file path doesn't get set in this way. We actually make sure that we set the file path before calling read file to buffer. And then if we manage to load that file and read the stuff into thingy, into a buffer, into memory, then we return that buffer. I reckon that's probably what we want to have happen. Then we can check to see if we actually received a buffer of stuff. Because over on this side, we don't actually check any success. We just assume that it succeeded. Sort of. I suppose, strictly speaking, if the pointer is at the buffer location, it won't do anything. So maybe we're just kind of getting away with that. But still, nobody really knows whether we've actually got a file. So yeah, that's gonna be the task tomorrow, doing these guys, and then it's going to be a case of toggling this onto true. Strangely enough, because we're not going to be on April Fool's Day by tomorrow. Toggling that to true, and then just essentially working through these errors that were exhibited. 1860 is the first one, yeah. So it's basically doing whatever's necessary to get this stuff going. And my guess actually is that it's going to be We're probably going to make use of the memory books, actually, for possibly a lot of the copy strings, but I'm not sure. But certainly for this one here, I think we would be using the memory book, and where we copy, so copy string to the pointer is into the template file path. Okay. Template file path. Yeah, probably what it's going to be is we just quickly set up a memory book in here, push these things, extend a string in that memory book, and then once you're done, you write that string back into the templates file path, and then free the book. I think that's what you'd want to do. Probably be the best way of doing it. At least in this case. And memory books do take strings. You write string in book. Yeah, it's taking a string, which is what these guys are. So that would totally do the job. Another option could be copy string sized. Couldn't it, actually? I'll think about it. Have we got that? I don't think we really have. That could be another option, actually. A copy string sized. Single edition. Well, that's going, isn't it? Oh, that's a point. You know where those editions are? Now, is this ever used? No. This is probably AFD, isn't it? Yeah. Our integrated location. Out path. Yeah, these are the only two places that's used. I think should be within our rights to do this. And then yeah, there's no pro edition being used. Single edition does happen. But that's impossible to happen now. And that's the only instance of addition single, and then addition network only occurs in a comment. And we did just take the initiative and delete all the other stuff that was to do with addition single, didn't we? So I reckon we just assume that we can just do this. Why is it indenting it out there? Exactly. It's always weird how it indents cases really far. So that's not wanting to indent any further. But that wants to indent it way out there. So that doesn't care either. So what is so special about the tag search? I guess the break is the line above, maybe? So you can see here, tag script is coming in. It's not wrapped in a scope, just as this isn't. So I think also this is happening. Yeah, right. So that's probably what's going on there. And that now just lines up like that. Do we need it to be wrapped? I think we just need it to break, don't we? It's also interesting how it lines it up there. That's not lined up. Yeah, anyway, whatever. No idea where I was up to before. God, before I spotted that. Oh, it's these guys, yeah, right. So now addition single's gone, addition product's gone, and addition network is just in comments. So bye bye. and this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So I think yeah, the first thing, address the old function, and then just go through the the AFD stuff. So there we go. That's it. 2 hours and 47 minutes to get rid of compile errors. Have we got any chat that I need to attend to? Nope. Cool. So yeah, that's it. Thanks very much, Heroes and Heroines, for being here, for being fantastic, for being error-free, I guess, and for being compilatory. Until next time, farewell for now.